20. Magdalena and the Man on the Roofs. In the spring of 1990, less than 6 months after the fall of the Berlin Wall, Magdalena left her native Poland for Spain. She wanted to meet a real man, she later told me, a dark, strong, Mediterranean man. In Madrid, she found one and married him. A year later, having decided that a dark and strong Mediterranean man was way too real for her, she fled to the United States. She came to Berkeley because her older brother was a student here, and she immediately looked for a job on the university bulletin board, where she found my post. I wanted a babysitter for my son Gabriel, who was then 6 months old. She called me, and then she came for a visit. She was a sturdy, young blonde woman with a white face and large blue eyes, full of warmth and sensuality. She took to Gabriel instantly, and he to her. I gave her the job. I was very curious about Magdalena. She was the first person I'd ever met who'd been born and raised behind the Iron Curtain, under Soviet rule. She was a strange mix, Magdalena, a mix of absurd preconceptions and extreme suspicion. She was sure, for instance, that banks and post offices kept files on everyone, and that telephones were tapped by the government. She just could not help it, and I understood that. After all, she had lived 20 years in the land of deceit and paranoia. She was also full of weird notions. For instance, that birth control pills turned women into lesbians. A Warsaw gynecologist had assured her of that. Meanwhile, her father, who was a lawyer, had told her terrible things about Jews and black people. I got proof of that the day I saw her grab Gabriel from the blanket she had laid him on in the front yard of our house and rushed him inside. I had just come from a jog and was opening the gate when it happened. She already had her back to me and practically slammed the front door in my face. I had to knock and call her name for her to unlock it. I asked what was going on, and she announced gravely that there was a black man outside. Having just noticed a PG&E guy exit his van across the street, it took me a few seconds to register the craziness of her reaction. And so we talked, and she shared the lies she'd been fed in Poland, telling me that racism and anti-Semitism were passed on to children through their mother's milk. I thought about this country and about the number of people who held the same prejudices without the excuse of Soviet indoctrination, and I felt sick. Magdalena was all that and more. When it came to men, she had me laughing. Here in Berkeley, she told me in a strong Polish accent, there are plenty of men who sing. The student, the professores, but they are not sexy to women because they sing too much. They do, I laughed back. And then there are the men on the roofs, sighing with longing. The men on the roofs, I repeated, not understanding. Yes, the men on the roofs, she nodded. The men that work, you know. Oh, builders, I said. You're talking about men who build houses, yes? Yes, she moaned, grabbing and squeezing her breast with pleasure. Ah, the men on the roof, they are brown with the sun. They don't wear shirt. They have arms and fronts bigger like that, and they eat you with your eyes. I was laughing, and she was still squeezing her breast and rolling her eyes. And then, all at once, she got serious and sad, saying, But they don't sing, these men. They have nothing much to say to women after the making of love, you know. And so it's terrible for me in Berkeley, with only professor and builder. What could I say? That winter we moved to Oakland, leaving Magdalena behind. We said goodbye with sighs and hugs and promised each other that we would keep in touch, but we didn't. About a year later, though, I bumped into her on the street while shopping in Berkeley. After many hugs and kisses, she told me that she had, at long last, decided upon the right kind of man for her. "No man on the roof?" I teased. She leaned closer and whispered, "Nine, no man on the roofs and no professors. I now go to Army base in Alameda to find for myself a soldier."